Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Motherfucker, he's on his way.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, Dylan.
What up?
New week, new episode,
And what did you say earlier? New potential.
new possibilities.
That's what I'm going to name my boat.
The world is your oyster, Dylan.
It is, and it has a pearl in it.
Oh, what's the pearl?
Just you, baby.
Oh, see, I knew you were going to say that. What do you want?
No, it's true.
What do you need?
Now, have you ever had like a...
You want some money, don't you?
No. Have you ever had like a really satisfying snack session?
All the time.
I mean, just when you're totally satisfied. It was a great
We
combination.
talk about food a lot on this podcast.
Yeah, well, food happens.
Food and true crime.
Yeah. A lot of people do that, actually. Beer and true crime and food and true crime happens a lot all the time.
Maybe there's something to that. Like maybe folks who are into true crime are also foodies.
Ah, yes.
Right?
We could start a research project. Figure that out.
The connection.
I'll be your control group.
Okay.
That-
Anyway, you were saying you had a fulfilling snack.
Yeah. I came in, had a really fresh salad. Been thinking about salad for a few days. And then I had some chips and salsa. I told you I felt like I was at a restaurant.
Would you order salad and chips and salsa at a restaurant? Is that a combination that you would order?
Yeah. I might have chips and salsa, then salad.
Okay.
But I had it in the reverse order.
Seems like an odd combination, but good for you. I'm glad that you're, satiated.
I'm full.
That you look like you're a little tick about to pop.
Yeah, on a hound dog's neck.
All right, Dylan, let's get into today's case. First and foremost, I want to give credit to a series of articles written by Frank Taylor from the Carolina Public Press. That was my main source of research for today's case.
Okay.
There is also some other news outlets, but the main source was Carolina Public Press. Frank did a great job reporting on this case. Are you ready to get started, Dylan? This is going to be a mystery.
Oh.
So at the end of the story, I would like to know maybe, what conclusions that you've drawn.
Okay.
Okay?
I will be ready to speculate.
Are you ready, Dylan?
I am.
Felicia Reeves spent her childhood moving frequently because her father, William, was in the Army. He retired as a command sergeant major, which is like the highest enlisted rank you can get. So pretty awesome.
So the highest before you become an officer, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
As a teenager, Felicia lived in Oklahoma, where she was a competitive gymnast. In the early 1990s, which there was a little bit of conflicting information here because some sources said the kind of late 80s and others say the early 90s, so I'm not really clear. Her family moved to Buncombe County, North Carolina, around the Asheville area, where they had some family roots. Felicia attended T.C. Robertson High School in Asheville. Felicia tried out for cheerleading her freshman year but didn't make the team. She didn't participate in any other extracurricular activities. Felicia was more comfortable socializing with friends. As a typical teenager, she enjoyed listening to music, hanging out with her friends, and she loved fashion. Those who knew Felicia said she always wore nice clothes and was very put together.
This sounds like a teenage Heather.
Maybe. She was also considered very generous. Friends recall that Felicia often let them borrow her clothes. Felicia admired her older siblings, Billy and Suzanne, who had joined the military. Felicia had dreams of enlisting as well. So you have a military family.
Yeah, and I
It
think
seems like a close-knit family.
I honestly think, a lot of times you hear of people that are kind of come from, a hard childhood or living situation going into the military because it gives them opportunity. But I really think it's and I realized this too late in life for myself, I think it's a great opportunity for any young person, even if you're coming from a stable home,
Well, yeah, it really is.
Yeah, you have this chance to travel, go to even different countries and things like that.
Well, there are certain skills, in my opinion, that the military offers that you don't necessarily get in the civilian world.
Okay, what are a couple of those?
The leadership, for me, like a sense of fairness and right and wrong
Okay.
becomes pretty cut and dry. There's not a whole lot of room for gray, I guess, with me. And I think the military taught me that because sometimes there is some gray area.
Right.
It's not, and we'll talk about that as we go on in the story today. That comes up in the case.
I think I could have benefited from the self-discipline that you build.
Multitasking, because
Yeah.
you shift priorities quite frequently. Teamwork is a big one. The diversity. You learn to work with and get along with a very diverse group of individuals. You have people of all, ages. I mean, of course, you're not really working with like 80-year-olds, but you know what I'm saying? You work with
Right.
a pretty wide variety of aged folks. You work with different races, the ethnicities, people from all kinds of different backgrounds and walks of life. Homosexual, heterosexual. I mean, it doesn't matter, but you all unite for like a greater good. And I think that's something that people maybe miss out on, is being part of something bigger than yourself.
Right.
You don't get that in the civilian world. I mean, not really. And just knowing like this person's going to have your back, or being in a situation where like someone's counting on you for, their life depends on you and your life depends on them. And I think in the civilian world, that's an element that most people miss. I mean, unless they're like, a police officer, law enforcement, fire, medic, something like that,
Yeah, I can say just being in dangerous industrial situations, I got a little bit of that from the crew around me, just knowing that you can count on that person and that they're looking out for you or whatever. They may put their life on the line to protect you or save you even. But yeah, I think me personally could have really benefited from discipline and structure.
I think you would have shined up like Bobby Brown's shoes in the 80s.
I would have
You had a Bobby Brown shine on.
I think I could have done pretty good in the military.
I think you would have done well in the military, Dylan.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty good about putting your head down and just doing the work.
Well, I certainly am better at that now in my later years, if you will. Just eating platefuls of shit and asking for more,
You're a good team player.
I can be. I can
I'll say
really
that.
act like.
You really fake it till you make it.
I can fake it.
And that is something I appreciate about you.
Thank you.
And I think you handle situations with a certain wit, but without being too aggressive. If that
Right.
makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, you have a way about you. I think you would have been successful in the military. But like with anything else, the military has its good parts, but it also comes with some bad parts.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Felicia experienced the dark side of the military. So let's discuss. Felicia did achieve her goal and joined the U.S. Army as a medic. She was stationed in South Korea, which is pretty exciting. I had a roommate that was stationed in South Korea, and he had a strong love of anime.
Oh, really?
He watched anime all the time because he lived in South Korea, and he said it was so popular there.
Well, and I'd say that's one of the more kind of flashy posts. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear people going to Germany, Korea.
I think any overseas station or billet would be exciting.
It's a little more exciting than just a base in the middle of nowhere.
Nebraska.
Yeah. Right.
No offense, Nebraskans. But, I mean, most people aren't trying to go to, like, North Dakota.
Well, yeah, they're one of my nephews was there in North Dakota at like a nuclear facility.
A lot of Air Force folks get stationed in North Dakota. I mean, of course, there are the dream spots, like in the Navy. Hawaii, of course, is a very dream,
right.
like a dream posting. Well, while she was in South Korea, Dylan, something terrible happened. Felicia allowed a fellow soldier to walk her back to the barracks one night. The man sexually assaulted her. She was badly injured during the attack, which would leave her with a permanent disability.
Now, sexual assault is always going to be a terrible, terrible event. But I think there's got to be another layer of betrayal when you're in a situation like this and it's one of your brothers in arms, if you will. Right?
I can speak from personal experience. Yes.
I mean, that's got to make it even worse.
It is. It is. So Felicia also suffered from PTSD, and I don't know exactly what physical disability she experienced from this assault, but she did have kind of lifelong issues, it seems. As we all know, sexual assault in the military remains a serious and ongoing problem. The latest data from 2023 estimates that 29,000 service members experienced sexual assault. This would include about 16,400 women and 12,600 men.
That's crazy.
Sadly, only about 1 in 5 service members reports it formally. Reporting has actually declined over the last few years, showing a growing distrust in the system. The Army has the highest reported rates of sexual assault. One main reason service members do not report is a fear of retaliation. About 64% of survivors say they faced ostracism and career harm after reporting. And again, I can attest this is true.
And that's a whole nother layer. Your whole livelihood, career, all this energy you've invested into this thing you're doing is all tied up in one big ball.
Well, you experience the horrific trauma of the event. Then you are like re-traumatized in a different way when you come forward, and then the way your command treats you, there's no privacy. It's not good.
Right.
So it's like you're like re-traumatized. And honestly, it just makes you feel like shit. I mean, you already feel like shame when something like this happens. And you feel like a stigma around it. But then when you have people like openly treating you like you're a whore, you deserve this.
Like they don't believe you.
Or they don't believe you, you're lying. Why would you want to ruin someone's reputation? I mean,
that's terrible.
All you're doing is putting a mark on our squad or whatever. I mean, it's just like, what are you talking about?
No, that's crazy.
Anyway, not a good experience. And so unfortunately, Felicia left the military with a sour taste in her mouth, right? Felicia married a fellow serviceman. Their marriage seemed to fall apart when Felicia experienced a miscarriage. Despite their separation, Felicia stayed friendly with her ex-husband, and it seems he kept in touch with her family. Amicable split, not a nasty divorce or anything like that.
I wonder what that's like.
Now, I have that. It's good.
You have had that?
Well, me and my baby daddy, we get along.
Right.
When her parents divorced, William Reeves settled in Rowan County, North Carolina. Felicia spent a few years living near her father in Salisbury. She enrolled at Rowan Cabarrus Community College, but it doesn't seem like she ever took classes. Like she was accepted into the community college, but never actually enrolled in any of the classes, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But then Felicia began moving around. From about 2002 to 2004, Felicia moved to New York City to attend the New York School for Medical and Dental Assistants. She held an internship at Mount Sinai St. Luke's Hospital, which is in Harlem. When Felicia returned to North Carolina, her mother and stepfather were living in the Hendersonville area. Lovely area.
Yeah, I like Hendersonville.
I do too. Our favorite bakery is there.
It is.
Shout out to McFarland's. They don't sponsor us, but I wish they did.
If you're in the Hendersonville area, get down there and put something in your mouth.
McFarland's, you can sponsor us by donating your chocolate eclairs.
Yes, you can pay us.
Because that is my absolute favorite. They're so good.
You can pay us in sweets.
Yes. Dylan also likes your cheese straws.
I do.
They're really good, right? Felicia settled there and met a man named Titus Boley. What a name.
I kind of like the name Titus.
I do too.
I think it's interesting.
I think of Titus Welliver, who starred in Bosch, which I really enjoyed that series. So much, in fact, I'm like reading the books now. So Felicia settled there. Again, she met this guy named Titus Boley. He was from neighboring Polk County. This is just like all in our neck of the woods, Dylan.
Yeah, I like it. Polk County's very rural county.
It is.
And is
There's like a big kind of equestrian center there. So a lot of folks know Tryon. It's also the home of Nina Simone.
if you like country living, there's plenty over there.
There is. Now, Felicia and Titus, after they dated for a while, they got married, but it was not a match made in heaven, Dylan. Titus had a violent temper, beating Felicia repeatedly. He spent time in prison for the assaults. As a matter of fact, Boley was charged with habitual misdemeanor assault in 2009.
I just don't understand from a man's perspective. And I've had a volatile, not good relationship, lots of arguing, things like that. But when it comes to the physical part, I just don't get it. I don't get beating your partner, fighting them like that. I mean, it just doesn't add up for me. It makes no sense now. And I'm also not going to let my partner abuse me like that, because
Dylan, shut up and get in your cage.
it's just too much. And like, what point are you trying to prove? I mean, I just never understood
Go back in your hole, Dylan.
beating a woman. It doesn't add up for me. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know what you're proving.
You know, it reminds me of, I don't know if we discussed this, but you came home the other morning, like 8 a.m. from work, and you said there was a couple over at our park.
Well, yeah.
But we have a park right across the street from our house.
Right.
Small park, popular park, unfortunately. But tell us what happened.
Well, I'm not sure there were a couple, but the man was quite older than the girl that appeared to be sitting on the bench. But I get out of my car, and I just hear screaming, and I look over, and I hear the guy's kind of walking away to his car, and he's like, "You don't think I won't come over there and knock your block off or hit you? I'm not afraid to hit a woman," something like that. And I'm just like, what in the hell? Here it is, 8 o'clock in the morning, super quiet neighborhood.
You came to the park to commit acts of domestic violence?
Yeah,
I mean,
what's
up with
happening?
that?
And my first inclination, obviously, is to say, well, I bet you won't hit her in front of me. You know, won't you slap me, motherfucker? You know, just
Right.
because that really bugs me when guys do that.
It bugs me too.
I mean, it really, really does. Because and I kind of want to protect, even if I don't know the situation. You know what I'm saying? It's such a trashy, terrible, cowardly thing to do. But of course, I caught myself and thought, best thing you can do is stay out of those situations. And I watched them for a minute, and if it had escalated, I would have called the police, because that's the safest thing for me as just a normal citizen to do. But yeah, I mean, the guy stormed off and got in his car and left, and fortunately, and nothing else happened. But yeah, I don't know.
Very weird.
Very strange.
I will never understand why people come to our public park to fight.
To be
'Cause
such
that
a small,
seems to be a common occurrence.
to be such a small little quiet park, there's a lot of action in the parking lot.
And a really nice neighborhood that's
Yeah.
mostly quiet, except for the park. Yeah, I don't know. Well, Boley was convicted as recently as 2018 for assault on a female. So as they say, a zebra doesn't change its stripes.
No.
Felicia moved to Pisgah Forest with Boley in 2009. The attacks seemed to escalate once they moved to that area. Maybe she was a little more isolated from her family. Pisgah Forest is very rural. During some attacks, he put his hands around her throat and squeezed. In another incident, Boley held a shard of glass to her throat.
My God.
Very scary. And for someone who has PTSD, I feel for this woman, because your fight or flight instinct definitely kicks in
Right.
with these situations. And, you know, this poor woman, I mean, she's already been through hell, and now she's living with this guy who makes her fear for her life every day.
Well, and that's supposed to be the person that you're, figuring life out with, that should be protecting you, helping you, supporting you. But this is the person that you're probably the most scared of.
Not okay. Felicia and Boley had 2 sons. However, the Department of Social Services intervened, removing the children from the home. Her oldest son, Chase, went to live with her parents, her mother and stepfather, while the younger boy was put into foster care in Transylvania County. And we'll talk more about that later because Reeves had many issues with the social service agency. At one point, Reeves posted on social media that she'd been responsible for getting several employees fired after she exposed misconduct at DSS. But there's really no confirmation whether that's true or not.
Yeah, and what's so tricky about, well, at least they got the kids out there because they certainly don't need to be in that environment. Well, what's so tricky is no matter how much you help and support the victim of this type of abuse is if they won't just, as scary as it is, make that final push, that clean break to get away from this person. That's what's so sad about domestic violence because everyone around can see what's happening. And it's like there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's true.
Because they're so caught up in their own dysfunction. And I'm certainly not victim blaming, but it's just, we all are well aware that it's almost like this syndrome that develops over time to where it's almost like they're detached from reality. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, one of life's lessons is to not involve yourself in affairs of the heart when it comes to, relationships.
Right.
Often people don't like the messenger. So if you tell your friend, hey, you should leave this person, that person's a scumbag, but then they stay with that person, it becomes kind of awkward because you've talked shit about their partner. I mean,
No, it's true.
It's just never a good thing. Well, because of Felicia's disability, she was taking prescription pain pills from the Veterans Affairs. Felicia developed an addiction to the pills, which caused other substance abuse problems. And I mean, we're all familiar with this. Doctors prescribe opioids for pain, for chronic pain, whatever. And then folks maybe can't get large amounts of these pain pills.
Or they're not strong enough now.
And then they turn to other substances like heroin, meth, fentanyl, like street drugs.
I watched this be done. And my mom was a willing participant, but this was done to my mother through doctors. This wasn't in back alleys and all this stuff. And you didn't have to go, hunt it down or, know bad people to get access. And back in the 80s into the early 90s, it was like the wild, wild west with doctors.
Into the 2000s.
Into 2000s, yeah,
I mean,
that's
doctors
true.
only really, they started cracking down on doctors after we had this opioid epidemic, which hit in the early 2010s or something?
Yeah.
But before that, all you had to do is go and be like, my finger hurts, and they're giving you, 120 fentanyl pills. I mean, it's nuts.
And I think it's what was so bad about the prescription pill epidemic that is still going on in ways. And a lot of it's fake now, fake pills or whatever, is that people ended up in this addiction and they didn't realize what they were getting into. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they were out doing 8 balls of coke or, banging heroin in their arm.
So many people don't admit they have an addiction because their attitude is, well, a doctor gave this to me, so it's fine.
See, that right there, that attitude
is not good. Like when you combine that with addiction and addictive behavior and the things addicts do.
Right.
Like anytime you try to confront or have an intervention or something, I mean, I'm right because my doctor gave me this.
Yeah, that
You're wrong.
attitude.
You didn't go to medical school. I mean, that kind of thing. And I speak from experience as well because I have one side of my family that especially where multiple members of my family were addicted to opioids prescribed by doctors during this time period. And I saw how it destroyed their lives. I have two, an aunt and an uncle that both passed away before they were 50 years old.
I'm sure it was connected.
Well,
likely, but yeah, and people rationalize it the way you said, and it really just spread out through all different classes. You know what I mean? Soccer moms.
Well, yeah.
Just regular working Joes.
You hurt your back at work. You pull a muscle. You break a leg. I mean, it
have
could
a bad car wreck.
Yeah, it could happen to anybody.
And they're just throwing, these 60, 90, whatever pills a month at you. Yeah, and then your time runs out, or they finally pull back, and you have this crippling addiction that is very hard to get off. I'm so glad in my doing dumb shit in my life, opioids was not something that I got was my thing, if you will. Because I'm telling you, just the withdrawals and the way you hear people describe it, I just couldn't imagine going through that. And that's oftentimes what keeps the addiction going, is the fear of when you stop dealing with the withdrawals.
I've always been someone who doesn't like to take medicine, period.
Right.
But I also found that some of that pain medication that doctors were prescribing at that time seemed to have like a reverse effect on me. Like it wires me. Where some people take pills and they're kind of in a stupor.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, yeah?
I'm like a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog or something. I'm a maniac.
You're zooming around?
Yes.
Damn.
And it's like a total opposite effect, and I don't like it. So anytime I've ever been prescribed something, I usually don't even end up taking it.
You just take maybe a couple.
Yeah, I mean,
the first day or
I'm
so,
always
but-
kind of like, I'll just rely on like Tylenol because, yeah, I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Okay. Well, that's good, though. I'm glad
I guess.
I'm glad you're not down with the dirty 30s.
Yeah, I know, because trust me, there were a lot of people around me that were into it. So bad relationships didn't just end with Foley. Felicia had other boyfriends who were violent. One of those in particular served time in prison for trying to run over a law enforcement officer.
And that's a good way to go to prison.
Yeah.
They frown upon that.
Yeah, cops don't make good speed bumps. Just saying.
No.
Floating that out there. As troubles brewed, Felicia's family were kind of in the dark about the company she kept. And I think this is not uncommon when someone is dabbling in drugs, or maybe they're hanging out with what people might consider, a bad crowd. They don't always let their families know
No.
those are the people, especially when you're in a small town where a lot of folks kind of know, like, word around town is this person's a piece of shit. I mean, we're from a small town, and there's certain names that even though I don't know those people personally, it rings a bell because I've heard so much shit talked about them.
Well, you heard your mom
they're
and dad.
constantly in the news, paper. They're arrested all the time, always doing some dumb shit. I mean, they're just troublemakers, right?
Well, it's just generational fuck-ups.
Well,
Trash.
Well, there are certain families who get that reputation too. I mean,
Yeah, and it comes from being raised in some crazy-ass household where...
dysfunctional.
Yeah, where everybody's fighting and, messed up on whatever drug constantly, and you start acting out and doing that yourself at 12, 13 years old, and next thing you know, you got juvenile charges, and I mean, it's just, you got to have a willingness to not want to be part of that anymore.
Unfortunately, there's been kind of a lot of that in the Appalachian region.
Well, I'm sure that's not exclusive to that.
Well, I know, but I'm just
direction.
saying,
Yeah.
like, there, where we come from, that's not so uncommon.
Oh, no.
Anyway, moving along. So Felicia's kind of keeping her family in the dark about who her friends are. She's not offering up information. They don't know a lot about her comings and goings, if you will. But based on conversations with Felicia, her family believed she was spending time with some bad actors. Just, little hints and maybe allegations, right? Things left unsaid. One friend allegedly forced Felicia to sell her prescription medications. He took her to South Carolina, where she was drugged, and then coerced her into stripping at a club. The man took the money she made from the strip club and also the money from the sale of her medication.
You wouldn't have to coerce me. I would get up on stage and live my best life.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
You're a pink pony girl.
Now, how'd
And
you know?
dance at the club, oh, Dylan.
I'd be like, grease that pole up,
But
boys.
the thing
Here
is,
I come.
your mom wouldn't be like, oh, what have you done? Your mom would just be like, yeah, make some money. She'd be like throwing dollars at you.
So you're saying I would be basically fancy?
Yeah.
And my mom would
Well,
be
I'm just saying your
Fancy's
mom's
mom.
pretty like chill and open-minded. So she'd be like, all right, get it sexy.
I believe you're right. I believe my mom would have supported my stripper dream.
She would. Your mom's like very chill, like I said. Basically, Felicia was the victim of human trafficking here. I mean, you're taken across state lines. You're being forced to do something you don't want to do. You're drugged. Someone else is making money off of you. I mean, this is sex trafficking,
Well,
essentially.
yeah, it's a violation of the Mann Act as well.
It is, Dylan. You're so smart. Now, in 2015, Felicia made cryptic posts on social media, and we'll talk more about these later, but they're pretty odd, and I think we can discuss maybe a couple of different scenarios about these posts. She described people using drugs and manipulating her with drugs. She talked about being drugged in in North Carolina and Kentucky. Felicia became afraid that, quote, these people were going to hurt her. She told her sister that if she was found dead, someone had murdered her.
Damn.
In 2015, Felicia had an extended stay at a hospital in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And we'll talk more about this later, but it was a mental hospital and she was committed for 12 days.
Damn, that's a pretty good hold there.
And we don't really know the circumstances surrounding, like, why or how that happened. In the weeks leading up to Felicia's disappearance, she was staying at the Rainbow Motel in Hendersonville. Sounds like a real classy joint, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where that one's at, but I can picture it in my head.
I know where it is. I don't even know if it's still open.
Oh, it's probably gone.
But I know where it is. It was within walking distance of her mother's home. During this time, Felicia kept in regular contact with her family. Since her son was living there, Felicia enjoyed a relationship with him because, again, the older boy is staying with her mother. So that's probably one reason why she was in constant contact. Plus, I mean, it just seems that she was had a close-knit family. What we know is Felicia bought a Visa gift card and added $200 to it. She spent $88.19 with Ash Shuttle. However, multiple companies called themselves like Asheville Shuttle at the time.
Okay.
But it was determined that the transportation Felicia used actually took people from Asheville to Charlotte. The pickup point is at the Henderson County line, which is about a 20-minute drive from the Rainbow Motel. So a taxi picked Felicia up at the motel, and that was the last time anyone saw her in North Carolina. Like reported sightings, for sure. There are several possibilities of how Felicia made her way to New York City. She disliked air travel, and it was possible that she could have taken an Amtrak train. I doubt she took a Greyhound bus, because it seems like it would take a while to get there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
possible.
It's a possible alternative, especially if you're dealing with limited funds. It's one of the cheapest ways to travel.
I don't know if it is anymore.
Well, it was back in the day.
You know, Greyhounds are sketchy. I've only had one experience with a Greyhound bus, and it kind of frightened me.
It's not for you, huh?
Well, I took a Greyhound bus because it was the only way to get from Santa Fe to Albuquerque, and I had a flight out of Albuquerque, kind of like a red-eye flight, so like 6 a.m. or something. And this Greyhound bus, I feel like it left at midnight and then arrived in Albuquerque like around 2. So it gave me a few hours to get to the airport, but I ended up just going and like hanging out because what else was I going to do in Albuquerque? I don't know anybody. But it lands at this Greyhound station in Albuquerque, and it was like the sketchiest place I've ever been. I actually felt afraid, like, oh my God, I'm going to be stabbed and killed or something.
Why are bus stations so horribly scary?
Dude, it was really scary. And the scary people, like, I don't know. And the cab driver that came up to me was quickly like, you need a ride somewhere? And I said, yes, please. I need to go to the airport. And he was like, hurry. And like put my luggage in the car and was like, we got to get out of here. He's like, this is not a good place to be.
Damn.
And I was like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, you don't need to stand out there for very long. Like something would have happened to you.
You got evacuated from the bus station by the cab driver.
Yeah, pretty much. And then on the cab, like the ride over to the airport, he was just like talking about how sketchy I guess that bus station is or whatever.
So you actually didn't mind sitting around the airport for a few hours?
No.
You felt much better.
I felt much safer.
Yeah, and out in the country, they just dump you off in a closed gas station parking lot.
They do. There was actually a Greyhound stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not too far off, a couple miles from my house growing up. And it was a gas station. And yeah, people would be dumped out there.
Yeah, and it closed at like 9, 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And this is the bus station.
And it was not within walking distance to
of
like,
anything.
Town, if that makes sense.
No. I mean, could you imagine knowing where that spot is? It's just a gas station on like a little 5-lane road.
I mean, it's a pretty good thoroughfare.
Yeah, but
to connect from like one town to the other.
Yeah, but not,
it's still pretty desolate. Like there's a couple houses around.
Yeah,
but there's not anything else.
And you just getting dumped off there, not knowing anything about the area. You'd probably be like, "What in the hell?"
Yeah, you're just left to sit on a bench outside until the next bus comes or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, not okay, right? A receipt will uncover that on August 21st, Felicia was in New York City's Penn Station. If Felicia paid for her travel, there was no record of it. She could have potentially used cash because the Visa gift card didn't reflect any purchases for travel or combinations. But there is another possibility, Dylan. There's a chance that maybe someone else paid for her trip.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we don't know how she got to Penn Station.
But she was at Penn Station,
Yes.
and there's likely only one reason to be there, right?
She took a train?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. On Friday, August 28th of 2015, Elizabeth, New Jersey police officers responded to a report at the Royal Motel. And let me just say, this motel is anything but noble. This is not a grand, luxurious motel.
You gotta love these places. They have always have these names, and you're like, okay.
I looked it up, and it has like a 1-star on Yelp.
Yeah, but then
place.
you look at it, looks like somewhere you'll get robbed if you walk through the parking lot. It looks disgusting.
No,
I'm
it
sure.
looks some type of way. Well, a maid at the motel reported finding Felicia's body hanging in a bathroom of room 26.
Oh my God.
Elizabeth, New Jersey is considered a high crime area. However, residents say, it's kind of like anywhere else. There are good parts, bad parts. But the area around the Royal Motel is a bad area, Dylan. It is a budget-friendly motel, to put it politely, where you'll find outdated rooms and questionable patrons.
Okay.
It's the kind of place where you might be able to buy some drugs, buy some sex.
Yeah, I'm stopping by. You got some sex and drugs in there?
You might get beat up.
You might get rolled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it didn't take Elizabeth police long to rule the death a suicide. There seemed to be no other options in any of the police reports. Like, at no point did anyone say, maybe we need to further investigate this. For law enforcement, it was a clear-cut case. For Felicia's family, there were suspicions and many unanswered questions. So let's get into some of the strange details surrounding Felicia's disappearance and cause of death.
Okay, so I'm interested in hearing these details because a lot of times it's not uncommon for family and friends to struggle with the idea that someone did actually commit suicide.
Well, no, that is true. You are absolutely correct about that part. But I think when you hear some of these details, you might be left with questions as well. Like I said, at the end of the case, I'll be curious to hear what you think happened. The autopsy report found that Reeves died by hanging. Quote, when the body is received, there is a bed sheet tied around the neck with a loose knot on the left side of the neck. That's from the autopsy report. In New Jersey, suicides are handled entirely by law enforcement. Homicides, however, are turned over to the prosecutor's office for further investigation. Police are no longer involved. They have a whole separate homicide investigators attached to the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
So police only handle, burglaries, stuff like that. But they do handle the suicides, as I mentioned. Due to this ruling, no seasoned homicide detective looked over Felicia's report to see if there might be any inconsistencies. So once the police ruled it's a suicide, it's a, shut case, closed, done, shelved, if you will. Felicia's family received a call from an anonymous man asking for her credit card details to pay for any phone calls that she made. The calls at the Royal Motel could cost up to $15 each.
Damn.
The man didn't specify that he was calling from New Jersey or from the Royal Motel.
See, that's one of those examples of how expensive it is to be poor.
Yeah.
You always get held over the barrel for everything. You pay the most. You pay the highest interest rates. And
you go to one of those shitty check cashing places, they're going to take 30% of your money or some crazy fee. I mean,
dude, you can literally borrow $2,000 or $3,000 from one of those places and never be able to pay it back. Because, it's just crazy. You're barely scraping up the minimum
very
payment.
predatory.
And just credit cards, period, are really taking people to the cleaners on these interest rates. And I remember one time my cousin had meticulously, for years, paid his credit cards. He had some, $15,000, $20,000 limits, which to me, I was like, shit, you're a big baller. But he used them responsibly, kept everything paid down. And just out of nowhere, never missed a payment. They hit him with like almost tripled his interest. It went from like 6% to like 17%, something like that. Never missed a payment, never anything. And I just don't understand how that's even allowed.
I know now with interest rates, I mean, you're looking sometimes at like 24, 25% on credit cards.
It's crazy.
I just recently got a card. I try to avoid credit cards, but I don't really have revolving credit. And I've been trying to work toward like having more, revolving. I mean, we want to buy a house.
Right.
And I'm sure if you listen to the podcast, we're both just pieces of shit and probably don't have good credit.
Well, no, it's just the whole look. If you pay an account off, right?
Yeah.
You make an agreement with someone, you pay all the payments, boom, you pay it off, and then close that down. The fact that hurts your credit score just
is
really
weird.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
And it leads me. The more I've read and researched, they want you to stay in the game. That's the whole point of the whole system, is to keep you paying interest, living above your means, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just like, what the hell?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't, like if I don't have revolving credit, then it's like, people are like, oh, well, that's worse than having like a bad credit score.
Soft credit's worse than bad credit.
Yeah. I mean, so who knows? But, on occasion I will get a little card for some place and then work and, try to pay it off or whatever, seeing like if it'll boost my score. I swear my score's been at like the same spot for like a year now. And I'm like, budge, go up.
Yeah.
It's weird. So I get this little card. It's actually a Bass Pro card, and ordered a kayak on it. But just looking through the interest rates, I mean, it's nuts. And it's a card where if I wanted to pay it off, I could.
Right.
I mean, it's not like I borrowed a whole lot of money or it's a, whatever, or used a lot of money on the card to buy this little kayak. I could pay it off at any time. But then I think, well, yeah, but when you do that, it's almost like it penalizes you.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to be stuck where I'm, paying $20 a month on this thing I could pay off in like 2 payments or a payment. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I guess I don't understand finances.
Okay. So we got sidetracked. We'll get
did.
back to talking about our incredible financial knowledge. Let's get back to the story.
Oh, you're ready. Oh, now you're ready to get to the point.
This is me being a
now
professional.
You're ready to get to the point.
I'm redirecting.
Okay. See how that works? All of a sudden now Dylan's concerned. Well, they get this weird phone call. So that's strange. And, the family's kind of like, what's going on? Because Felicia had paid for a week's stay at this motel in cash.
Right.
According to the front desk. And when she checked in, only women were working at the front desk. Felicia reportedly checked in by herself. And so when her family calls to ask about this credit card information for these phone charges, the ladies at the motel who work at the front desk say, well, we don't have a male on staff, first of all. And secondly, like, we wouldn't call her family
When she was found in our hotel room hanging.
looking for,
Right.
phone, whatever. And she paid in cash. So, it's likely maybe they would require a deposit or something. But anyway, it just didn't make sense.
So they were saying basically it wasn't us.
Yeah. So then who was calling and trying to get a credit card?
That's very strange. And why would you want her credit card information?
Yeah, or her parents, actually. One of the pressing questions concerns housekeeping. So the maid went to clean the room on August 28th, and she didn't notice anything was wrong until she opened the bathroom door. The sheet was missing from the bed, allegedly, and I'll say allegedly because we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you're a maid and you're cleaning a room and changing sheets on a bed, I mean, would you not notice that, like, hey, the top sheet is missing?
Well, even if I don't notice many other things in the room and I'm kind of just, going about my day in kind of a robotic motions or whatever, that's going to be the one thing I do notice.
Did the maid not see the sheet was missing? Did the maid not discover personal items in the room? I mean, did she think this person had checked out and just left everything, all of her possessions in the room?
Now, can we say the custodial care at the Royal Hotel may be lacking in some
you
ways?
have no idea. It could be outstanding.
It could be incredible.
That 1 star on Yelp that could just be false.
That could be someone like, I wanted to like the Royal Hotel.
It's not even a hotel, but it's a motel.
It's a motel. Big difference, yeah.
When Felicia's body was discovered, decomposition was settling in, which meant she had been dead for several days before she was discovered. No one detected a foul odor. Why wasn't the room cleaned before the 28th?
Right.
Only on the day she was checking out, the room was cleaned? I mean, that's odd. Maybe she had a do not disturb on the door. I don't know. But let's be honest, a decomposing body has a very specific smell. So you're telling me the Royal Motel is so disgusting that every room smells like a dead body? That you don't pass by a room and get a whiff of something and think, what the hell is that? Because we have like a little dead rodent or something somewhere outside. We can't figure out where it is. But there's a certain spot that when you walk by, we're like, what is that? I mean, it's obviously something dead.
Right.
So we're like, it must be a mouse or a squirrel or something like that. So how do you not smell a dead body?
That's just Jimmy down there in room 5.
He don't ever shower.
He smells like that all the time.
I
You go out there and work in the sun with him. You'll find out.
I just don't get it.
No, it's strange, but so she paid for a week's stay in cash, right?
Yep.
6-7 days, however they look at it. So this would lead us to believe that she wasn't there very long before something happened to her.
Right.
Okay.
Though Felicia was described as a drug user, the toxicology report found nothing in her system. But Felicia had been drinking alcohol. That was in her system. She was known to drink sometimes and had even been arrested for a drunk and disorderly conduct in 2013. However, there were other times when Felicia refused alcohol due to her regular medication, like her maintenance meds. Felicia had also enrolled in a methadone program, so her parents were like, she was on the path of getting straight. She seemed like she was off the pills, or, she wasn't abusing drugs. She wasn't drinking alcohol. So they were kind of confused about the alcohol in her system and in her room because the maid reported there were beer bottles everywhere.
Okay.
And then also, where did the beer come from? We'll talk about that in a second. Now, just before Felicia disappeared, she had received her medication, like the pain pills, from the VA doctor in Asheville. So she had like her little, 30-day supply or whatever. And as I mentioned earlier, Felicia sometimes posted these troubling messages on social media. In some of them, she described being heavily influenced by drugs. And these posts were in August, and implying that it was against her will. Felicia also posted about being a police informant, although no information has confirmed that she was working for any kind of law enforcement agency. The maid did report, as I mentioned, finding multiple beer bottles in the room. Yet the motel said she had no visitors. She could have been drinking the beer alone. I mean, that is possible. Maybe she had the beer when she checked in.
Now, going back to not checking this room for days on end, once you walk into the room,
You don't smell anything?
there's a body in advanced state of decomposition in the bathroom. And I've got to imagine that the structure and everything's not pristine, keeping air in and out. It's not a place like that. How in the world do you not notice something's going on in this room as soon as you open the door? I mean, come on. That's very strange, right?
I think it's very strange because a couple of days, that body's going to be stinking.
Yeah.
Like, there's no avoiding that. So, I don't understand how no one outside the room detected a smell and how this housekeeper went into the room and didn't think, what is that?
Right.
Someone must have had a bad burrito. No. Felicia's prescriptions were not found in the motel room. And she had just gotten this prescription from the VA. And the toxicology report didn't show any of those medications in her system at the time of death.
Which is strange because these are maintenance meds she typically takes regularly.
Yeah. One of the employees at the motel described Felicia as being a heavy drug user, which her family thought was like strange. Like, how would you know that she's a heavy drug user? This is the first time she's checked in this motel, as far as we know.
Right.
Yeah. But then other persons working at the motel reported that they didn't see her leave her room like throughout the week's stay. Another strange element is that Felicia was known to wear jewelry, like a lot of jewelry. She had rings on almost every finger and even on her toes. Only a plain ring was returned to Felicia's mother. She also had a diamond setting in a cheek piercing that seemed to vanish.
Oh, that's weird.
Where did all of her jewelry go?
Yeah, you would expect. You know your loved one better than these strangers at a hotel. You would expect more property back, right?
Law enforcement found no money in the motel room. A police report stated that her debit card, along with $17 in cash, was found in her pocket, like on her person. At the time, Felicia's banking account, and I remember she used a Visa gift card for some of these purchases, but her actual bank account, checking account, had $3,600 in it. She didn't touch any of that money from the bank account while she was in New York or New Jersey. She had recently received a backlog disability check and would carry up to $10,000 cash on her person.
Damn.
Around town, and that money was not found. Her family has no idea what happened to this large sum of cash that she had.
Damn, that's really dangerous to do, and especially staying in places like this.
Another thing that seemed odd to Felicia's mother was the clothing information. She was described as being found in this is the part I don't understand either, is that this cash was supposedly found in her pocket, but then she's reportedly found wearing a pair of purple underwear and an orange and white top.
Well, maybe they mean the pants pocket of the pair of pants that's nearby.
Again, there's just a lot of inconsistencies in their reporting, and this is through the police's reporting, not through the journalist's reporting. There's just a lot of inconsistencies. Felicia's mother said that her daughter always matched her bras and underwear, and that Felicia was really vain about her appearance. Again, she's a fashionista. She's always really concerned about what she's wearing, how she looks.
She got all the cute little jewelry.
She's got all the cute jewelry. She's got all the new clothes. Very stylish. And apparently these things she was wearing were mismatched, and her mother was like, there's no way she's wearing that. Plus, Felicia had recently purchased a large amount of brand new clothing that was not found among her belongings. The items returned from the motel did not consist of any of this new clothing. And the items actually were kind of worn and mismatched and not cute outfits. Her mother was like, these are not her clothes.
Not her clothes at all.
Yeah. I don't believe for a second that this was what my daughter was wearing. When Felicia was last seen in Hendersonville, she was carrying her belongings in plastic bags. However, a purple suitcase was found in the room. The suitcase was worn and didn't look brand new. So police were like, it didn't seem like she had just bought this suitcase and maybe used it for a couple of days and it was slightly worn. I mean, it looked like, it was broken in. It wasn't totally worn out, but it was definitely not brand new. So did someone give her the suitcase? Did she buy this used suitcase along the way? I mean, it sounds like Felicia was concerned about appearance and that kind of thing. So I would think she might go buy a brand new suitcase.
When she has a pocket full of money.
Yeah.
A bank account.
Because that's very visible if you're traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got all this new stuff.
And this suitcase, no one had ever seen it.
God, why is she in this fucking flea bag with all this money available?
I don't know. There were also inconsistencies in the autopsy report, which were alarming for family members. You expect detailed information, but the report didn't include a tattoo that was on Felicia's body. It mentioned some, but not others.
That's weird, right? I mean, I would find that odd.
Yeah. She was also described as weighing 150 pounds when she actually weighed about 115 pounds.
That's a big difference.
It is. Other information also seems incorrect, such as the appearance of her fallopian tubes and ovaries, which were described as normal. But Felicia had an ovary removed years earlier due to a tubal pregnancy, back when she'd had that miscarriage. They had taken an ovary. So she doesn't have an ovary. So how is the autopsy yeah, her ovaries are fine?
Wouldn't you be like, one's missing?
You would
It's not
think.
here.
I mean, clearly this makes Felicia's family wonder if the autopsy was accurate or if it was just poorly done. Could she have been mixed up with another person? Another body?
Well, you got the body weight thing, the thing with her...
Was the chain of custody fucked up?
Her ovaries, it's very strange. Missing tattoos, obvious marks on her bodies.
Yeah. This could also mean that the death ruling might be incorrect. So if the family's looking at this autopsy like, well, shit, if they've missed some of these, pretty significant details, then how do we even know that the investigation was right?
Right.
Police told Felicia's parents there was no security footage at the motel, but they learned this was not the case. The police had obtained footage from the motel. A detective later stated that he had watched the entire footage and that there was no one entering or exiting the motel room.
Well, then why wouldn't you say that instead of acting like there's none available?
It seems like the police were totally stonewalling this family. The room didn't offer a kitchenette or a microwave, so her family, of course, was asking if she didn't leave the room at all. You don't see her leave at any point during her stay. How did she survive without food?
Right.
And where did these multiple beer bottles come from? Because it sounds like it was quite a large amount of beer, not a 6-pack. So at some point, she's got to get cases of beer or something in the room.
Or multiple 6-packs. So you're going back and forth. People are going to see you walking to the store.
If you actually reviewed this footage, wouldn't you catch that? Again, it's just stuff that doesn't add up. Among Felicia's belongings was an Amtrak ticket purchased on August 23rd at 11:40 a.m. at Penn Station in New York City. The ticket was in Felicia's name and scheduled her for a trip to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the train departing on the same day at 12:06 p.m.
From Penn Station?
Penn Station to Philadelphia.
In New York?
Well, Penn Station is in New York, Dylan, and Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so she has this unused ticket, or is it scheduled later or something like that?
Well, no, it's scheduled for the day it was purchased, which was the 23rd.
Okay.
It was purchased at 11:40 a.m. and the ticket was for a trip to Philadelphia at 12:06 p.m.
Okay.
So it was purchased 20 minutes or so before the train was to depart.
Okay.
She used $100 from the Visa gift card to buy that ticket, but there's no indication whether she used the ticket or if she bought a return ticket, possibly paying in cash. But remember, she didn't leave her room, according to police. So once she checked into the room, she never left. How did she go buy this ticket in her name in New York City?
Yeah, that doesn't add up at all.
On August 24th, someone used the Visa gift card to pay for subway rides. That was 3 days after she checked into the room and never left. Now, this could be explained by, sometimes when you make a purchase, it's pending and it takes a few days to process. That could be maybe an explanation.
Right.
But again, she's not left her room at all, according to police. There was also a claim ticket among Felicia's belongings that was dated August 21st, where she had paid $140 deposit on a pair of glasses from Cohen's Fashion Lenses. I guess that's a chain up north. We don't have it down here. The store number is 193 on the ticket, but there's no store that exists with that store number.
That's weird.
A store near Penn Station didn't have a record of the claim number on the ticket. So the claim number that was given to her didn't match any of their records. And they also didn't have any information about this deposit or her name on file. Nothing.
That's very odd.
They even called the headquarters, which I think might be located in Kentucky, and got nowhere with this claim number.
So here you have this ticket with a fake non-store number on it, and they can't, as far as they're concerned, it never happened.
Right.
There was no deposit, nothing.
They have no record of any kind of deposit transaction. They don't even have this claim ticket number that was given to her. It doesn't even exist. Felicia depended on glasses because she was nearsighted and had astigmatism. She never went anywhere without her glasses, but for some reason had left her pair behind in North Carolina. Social media posts depict a woman struggling with her mental health. We've talked about some of these postings. She claimed someone was backstabbing her and made posts like, they're backstabbing me and the truth's going to come out. She mentioned that there was a price on her head. Later, she posted about being a police informant, which, again, there's no record of that or no information available about that. And at some point, she'd even contacted Hendersonville police about some of these issues. Like she had a price on her head, someone was coming for her, and the police did not take her seriously. Another social media post states that she tried to commit suicide in late July or early August. This was around the time Felicia was having some issues with her Veterans Affairs disability pay and getting her medications from the VA. Felicia filed a grievance with Western State Hospital, which again is that mental health facility in Kentucky. She had also been feuding back and forth with DSS. Felicia had experienced 2 thefts from her bank account in 2015, including one by an employee who was skimming money from the account and another by a woman who used fake credentials to withdraw money from a bank branch in Greenville, South Carolina.
How in the hell do you pull that off? Because I can hardly take money out of my own account with my ID and my debit card
Yeah, I know.
and my social security card and my car title.
They want like a blood sample for me to like go in the bank and do any business.
Yeah.
I got locked out of my online account, and it took me like 2 weeks to be able to get back into it.
Yeah, so how in the world? I just don't get it.
The bank agreed to return this money. Some social media posts show that Felicia was like arguing with someone who maybe deleted their comments because it looks like she's having a back and forth exchange with someone.
Oh, yeah, that's when you serve them real good, when they delete all their comments.
Felicia believed that someone was forcing her to do things against her will and making her life miserable when she ceased. She made repeated threats that these people would face consequences. She was going to expose them. She was a police informant. Now, Dylan, this could be the result of mental illness,
Yeah,
mental health issues.
Right.
This could be substance abuse,
This could be some psychosis brought on by drug abuse.
because we know that a lot of times people who are under the influence are not exactly like in their right state of mind,
No, and paranoia is a
And,
common theme in those.
and like hallucinations. and,
Right.
yeah. Or maybe she's telling the truth. I mean, we just don't know. Another unusual factor is that Felicia had spent large amounts of money on clothing and jewelry during the last 2 years of her life. Her family said she had traveled frequently to major cities, but her family states, she only had this disability income, so they didn't really know where she was getting money to go to, like, New York. She was in Kentucky. She's been to, like, Ohio, Tennessee. Like, she traveled a lot in the last 2 years before her death. And they don't know how she was able to afford that.
So she had the little nest egg in the bank account, around $3,600, and she had just gotten a back payment. But that was unusual for her to have that availability of that much money.
Because normally she just would have her monthly disability pay,
Right.
which I'm assuming probably wasn't that much money. I mean, not enough for her to be like funding her normal life. I mean,
no.
staying in a motel is not cheap,
Well,
or
look.
paying a rent, paying your bills. But so then you probably don't have extra money to travel. So
No.
her family was not sure how she was getting this money.
Even saving $3,600 back from being on disability is a monumental feat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, either she, so it does seem that where is this other income or money coming from, or who's she traveling with, or
Right.
something
Is
like
someone
that.
paying for her travel? How's she getting this extra money? I mean, these are questions that remain. Could she have been involved in some kind of trafficking, drugs, or otherwise? Felicia's sister Suzanne believes that she was involved in a multi-state human trafficking ring. After Felicia's death, her sister accessed one of the cell phones that was left behind at the New Jersey motel. Men kept calling, asking about physical therapy and other personal services. Now, Felicia was never a physical therapist, so that suggests a certain conclusion, if you will.
Like, well, if you can't give me the
Physical therapy,
Yeah.
massages. I mean,
Right.
right. One man admitted that he'd gotten the phone number from a listing on Backpage.com, the now defunct website known for classified sex ads.
Oh,
And
that's what was on
also-
Backpage?
Don't act like you don't know.
I don't know.
You a damn lie too.
No, I'm saying, I thought that's where you found like old dressers to rehab.
No,
No, okay.
that's Facebook. Or it
Ah,
says.
see, I had so many confusing calls with people.
Well, one of the reasons Backpage was essentially shut down is because of the human trafficking, the sex trafficking that was happening on the site.
I call up looking for, a well-made dresser with dovetail joints, and I ask if this is still available.
You're
and
calling the AM radio?
They would also always assure me that it was indeed available.
They don't have any AM radio for like sex hookups?
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking for a good prostitute to come down here.
I like a girl with
I'm a single man.
big, strong hands to come down there and take care of me.
Do some physical therapy on me.
That's right. I got this knot down there in my butt.
Suzanne received other phone calls mentioning a prescription that was waiting for Felicia, but when she looked up the pharmacy name that was given to her, there's nothing that doesn't exist.
Oh.
So it almost seemed like this was code for something, but her sister doesn't know what.
Well, yeah, and then she has that receipt that goes nowhere for the glasses, which is very odd.
Yeah.
Almost like that could be code for something.
I know. That's what I was thinking. There were other deaths at the Royal Motel where the room had been cleaned before police arrived and the decedent's belongings were missing. So it seems like staff at the motel just raids people's personal items if they're found dead.
Oh, that could explain all her stuff being gone.
Yeah, because this happened to another woman who passed away there of a heroin overdose. And guess what, Dylan? She was being sex trafficked.
Who in the hell steals a dead person's things? I mean, seriously. That's pretty freaking low.
You're right. That is a low-life move. Later, that's a shitbird move, Dylan.
Very.
Later, a reporter in New Jersey will publish an article in which the Elizabeth Police Department claim they never heard any complaints from Felicia's family about the case. Of course, this is not what the family says. Felicia's sister, Suzanne, traveled to New Jersey to have a sit-down meeting with the police, so none of this made sense to her. She's like, I literally went there to talk about we need to reopen this case, and now they're telling a reporter, like, we've never even talked to them. We didn't know the family was upset.
Damn.
The New Jersey Reporter wrote that Felicia died by hanging herself with a towel. Now, if you remember, the family was told she used a bed sheet, and that's what the autopsy report stated. But this was not the first time the family had heard this inconsistency. Because, I mean, I guess, like, police had used that term as well, like a towel. So they were like, well, did she have a bed sheet or a towel?
Because those are quite different items.
Her family also wanted to know what happened to Felicia's clothing and other items like her cash, her jewelry. They do not believe that the mismatched and old clothing items found in the room were, Felicia's things, especially not stuff she would take on a trip, even if she was planning to commit suicide. I mean, they know their daughter, they know their relative very well. So if they're saying there's no way in hell she would ever wear any of these pieces of clothing, then they're probably right.
Yeah, more than likely,
I think
right?
you would be able to know, like, that's not something Heather would wear.
Well, yeah, if they had a bunch of colorful, bright items.
Lily Pulitzer dresses.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what is this?
Yeah, I'd be like, where's all the black clothing at?
Yes.
Where's the big clompy boots?
Felicia's family's efforts to demand answers finally paid off. A New Jersey prosecutor reopened the death investigation. Suzanne sent out letters to publications, to public officials. She was hoping to draw attention to her sister's case. North Carolina law enforcement also began gathering information. It wasn't long after Suzanne began making noise that she received an unknown phone call. She usually didn't answer those unknown calls, that come in on your cell phone. Unknown caller.
Literally says unknown
Yeah.
caller.
Because, they're usually calling about your car's extended warranty or something. But she felt like, okay, well, maybe this has something to do with my sister's case. Maybe this is like a blocked number from like the DA's office or something, right?
Well, yeah, anytime I've had any contact with police, they'll call you from an unknown number.
Yes.
Obviously, they don't want people to have their cell and stuff like that.
A man claimed during this phone call, this unknown caller, that he was with the New Jersey Police Department, the Elizabeth Police Department, and demanded that she stop attempting to reopen the case.
Oh. Well, that doesn't sound legal.
No, it almost sounds like a threat. And it does, and it did seem like the tone of the call was like threatening. The family complained throughout the case and, for months after about the police's lack of communication. At times, the family felt the police were being like downright hostile towards them.
It's like, what do they have against the family? You know what I mean?
Like they were mad. Like, how dare you call me and keep asking me about this, you know?
But that's got to be common if you're having families call and ask questions when someone passes away. I mean, it seems to me like that it's a very common thing.
Well, yeah, especially when it's out of state.
Yeah.
There's strange circumstances. But you know what they say, Dylan? Some of them folks from up north ain't too damn friendly.
I've heard that.
Yeah. There's a stereotype for a reason. By 2017, the Homicide Task Force investigating Felicia's death contacted her family to inform them that the case had been closed. New Jersey police continued to classify her death as a suicide. Felicia's family said this does not surprise them, but they do not believe the ruling. At this point, their trust in the New Jersey agency had been irreparably damaged because of the way they were treated, these inconsistencies, outright lies told to like the press. Reeves' ex-husband, Titus Boley, had contacted the family shortly after Felicia's death, but no one outside the immediate family knew she had passed away. And they were very troubled by this. Like, how did he know? We haven't told anyone.
Damn.
We haven't made any posts. Like, nobody knows except for like immediate family, meaning like her mom, her stepdad, her father, brother, sister.
Very
and yet
strange.
somehow he had this information. Another heartbreaking aspect of this case involves Felicia's youngest son. Now, I mentioned before he was placed in DSS custody. A foster parent named Aaron Gray was accused of abusing the child, but escaped prosecution due to a miscommunication somehow between law enforcement agencies. Convenient. Thad Addison Boley, the little boy, had bruises according to his older brother Chase. He was having some kind of visit with Felicia and the older brother, and the older brother noticed this child had some bruising. When Felicia saw the bruises during her visit, she reported them to the agency. The family was told that the child was going to be placed at the Black Mountain Children's Home and would be removed from this foster parent's care. This kind of seems to be where the bad blood was between Felicia and the Transylvania County Social Services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that was the last time any of the family had knowledge of the child. They believed he was being taken to this children's home. After Felicia's death, the family became concerned about the child's whereabouts. Well, it turns out the child was never placed at the home. They learned the child had been adopted after Reeves' death, but they were not given any additional information.
How does that work?
So he'd been adopted out before and they didn't contact the family. I mean, you would think they would alert like next of kin or something.
Well, don't they typically try to keep a child with direct family in some capacity?
Well, that's what I hear.
Ask
is that
everybody.
Reunification is like the way to go.
See if anyone in the family would
Well,
qualify.
and her mother has custody of the older child, so it would make sense that she would want to get custody of the younger child as well.
Or at least be asked, do you want custody of this child? I mean, that's very weird.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Felicia's mother has spoken about how the older brother Chase, the little boy, had been, like in therapy, and the therapist had suggested like he needs to be like reunited with his brother, like that would be really helpful for him. But yeah, they have no idea like what happened to this child.
Damn.
Titus Boley's rights to the child had been terminated at this time. It is policy that Transylvania County DSS notify next of kin when an adoption takes place. The new director who took over didn't know why there had been a lack of communication with Felicia's family and was going to, look into it.
Just it's going to be like, my bad. I mean, that doesn't really work right there.
Well, we've had other cases where we've discussed regional social services in Western North Carolina and how there seem to be issues, a lot of issues in multiple counties. Yes,
it's true.
Lawsuits, deaths. Yeah. Well, that is Felicia's case. And I know it's kind of a different departure from our traditional Mountain Murders episode where we would discuss, like a homicide. But it's just a very mysterious set of circumstances.
Right. It is.
And I'm intrigued by the story. I mean, I remember when this was published, what was that, like 10 years ago? I just found it completely fascinating and wanted to know everything I could find out about it. What What do you think? Do you think Felicia took her own life? Or do you think there's enough information out there to suggest something else?
I think it's possible, given the strange posts and the obvious past history of mental issues to a degree. It's possible she took her own life, and then her belongings and everything was raided kind of after her death by, some despicable people around her. But when you think about these mysterious income sources, all the traveling she's done or was doing, and her other past experience with bad characters, I guess it's very possible that she was tied up in some kind of criminal activity of some sort that could have led to someone staging her committing suicide. But it's very strange with all the inconsistencies with the investigators and things like that. And I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's very odd. And I have to agree with Felicia's mother, who said, it didn't really make sense to her why her daughter would go put money down on a new pair of glasses, like a deposit, and buy tickets and that kind of thing if she was planning to take her own life.
Right. That's usually atypical behavior of someone. But then, playing devil's advocate, some people would argue, if she was going to do some harm herself, maybe she gave her nice things away. Sometimes you see that behavior, people giving basically everything they have away to people around them, even strangers sometimes, because they know they literally don't need it anymore. But I don't know.
I guess I also would mention, playing devil's advocate, that, a lot of times suicides are not meticulously planned. Sure, we have folks who plan it. They leave a note. They make sure, there's certain conditions met, maybe make some arrangements.
Some people even get their finances in order, all their papers available.
They do.
Left out in an obvious spot for family members, things like that. Yeah.
Also, women take a lot of care to not mess up the home.
Right.
Women think about who's going to clean this up.
Well, they think about who's going to clean this up and what state am I going to be found in. So, hanging is actually a predominantly male method of self-harm. So that's a little odd. But yeah, I don't know. There's just you got that alleged glass receipt that goes nowhere. That's very strange. I guess that could just be a mistake on someone's part. But also, you have to mention, sometimes families can't believe their loved one did this to themselves. And also, I want to point out, sometimes when a relationship even slightly sours between family and investigators, it kind of tints all their interactions after that. So we're taking at face value everything her family said as far as what was said and done by investigators. Maybe you have to take some of that with a grain of salt. Hey, if all that's exactly true, what they said, then it's very fucking weird. It's very strange. The inconsistencies in the autopsy, the just kind of hateful way the investigators treated her family.
Well, saying like there's no security footage, but then later saying, oh, there was, and we reviewed it, there's nothing. Like,
yeah, why wouldn't you say there was security footage? We reviewed it all. It didn't lead anywhere. It didn't give us any clues.
Why wouldn't you maybe offer to show her sister that footage?
Right.
To prove, because it's like once you are able to shut down these suspicions, maybe that's enough to like bring closure that the sister can see, okay, she didn't leave the room this entire time.
Well, yeah, and most of the time they want to help families get that closure and kind of, put an end to something like this. But then, hey, she was hung herself with a towel. It was a sheet. It was a towel. That's weird, right?
Well, what I was going to add is, a lot of times people do make like plans to take their own lives, and other times I think it's a quick act, like almost impulsive,
and like a really low moment that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah, or like they get bad news or something happens and they just kind of fly into this. I don't know how else to describe it. I'll just say like fly into a tizzy and
Right.
make a rash decision to do this thing, and there's no planning ahead, and maybe it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I don't know. The whole case, I mean, again, I think it's very, very mysterious.
I agree.
So I'm really interested in what our listeners have to say about it. If you have any comments or thoughts, you can always email us at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, please do. And if you know something about this case, man, holla to any applicable investigators, right?
Yeah, hook some hosts up.
Well, no, it would be awesome to,
With
get
info.
something out there. And yeah, you can drop us that info. We'll make sure it gets to the place it needs to go.
Don't forget we have a one-stop place for all of your mountain murders interests still in it, and that is it's them 3 W's.mountainmurderspodcast.com.
That's right. You can find everything Mountain Murders there.
You can access our merch store. You can listen to our episodes.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, so check that out.
Yes, please do.
Drive up our website traffic.
That's right.
We love you.
Do a drive-by, a click-by.
We love it.
All right. We love our listeners. We love our patrons. And we hope everybody has a good rest of your week. And we will see you around the middle of it.
Dylan's sending a loving embrace.
That's right. I'm going to squeeze
But only
you.
if you consent.
I'm going to squeeze you only if you want me to squeeze it.
Oh, Dylan.
That's right.
You're so sweet.
I'm going to give you a big ethereal hug from the interwebs.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Ashley, a true crime fanatic.
I'm Dan, and I don't know anything about true crime.
Together, we host Fuck That, a true crime podcast that covers cases that highlight important topics that are often overlooked, such as wrongful convictions, domestic violence, and social inequities, sprinkled in with the occasional case with spooky themes. If you are looking for your next true crime fix delivered candidly with a hint of sarcasm, you can listen and subscribe to bi-weekly episodes of Fuck That wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook and Twitter at @FThatPod and at @FThat_pod on Instagram.